Hello everyone, today we are doing 3 ways to hit a berm and survive. If you want to be stylish, if you want to get through them quickly, or if you want to just ride the berm and actually stay on your bike. So we've got numerous different berms as you can see in the background here, and we've also got this whole trail woods area with loads of different stuff to be hitting, and we're going to do a variation of different berms. So yeah, we've got lots of different berms to be teaching you how to do all these different techniques. And yeah, by the end of this video, you should be able to go down to your local trails and smash some berms properly. So let's get into it. Method number 1, this is the hit and survive. This is the sort of method you're going to use if you're new to the trails or if you're not very good at berms in general. You don't need to go really fast. All you need to do is just approach the berm, make sure you've got your speed at a medium rate. You don't need to rush this, you can get faster as you go along. Another important tip is that you're going to want to have your inside leg up on the pedals, so they're like this. I'll show you on the bike now. And that way it gives you more control to lean into the berm, because all your weight's going to be on the outside foot, meaning you can turn in sharper and there's going to be no risk of you sort of slipping in the berm. And also you're not going to clip your pedal if you do that technique. To set up for the berm, you don't really want to brake whilst you're inside the berm. Point of a berm is to kind of go into it with the speed that you're at and then come out with more speed. That's how a berm should work. So you're going to pump, that will give you more speed coming out. So once you get to the berm, try not to brake, because that's going to ruin the flow of the trail. Just keep it cool, turn, make sure you're in line with the berm, make sure all your turning is locked in good and that you're not pointing outside the berm, because you'll go over it and die. When you're at the end of the berm, give your bike a little sort of push into the end of it, and that should launch you out of the berm with a little bit more speed. If you do that when you're braking, you're going to sort of pump into less speed, and that's going to sort of knock you off balance, make you go a bit strange. That's something that people do that means they get it wrong. It might cause you to come over the end of the berm rather than come out of it nicely in the direction you're meant to go. So just make sure you stay off the brakes inside the berm, make sure your pedals are up like I said, and you'll make it through the berm epic. So yeah, we're going to move on to the next type of berm, which is the stylish, fast hitting smash. Let's move on to it. We're here at the second berm. This is a berm that you can see we've been roosting heavily already. We've got all the drift marks, the nice black soil, so you can see that we've been smashing it. There's a couple of ways you can hit a berm like this if you want to get it real stylish. Fire some dirt out the back, you know, get a lot of soil smashing into your cameraman that's behind it, all that sort of stuff like that. So first technique, you're going to want to take the berm at your usual angle, but what you're going to want to do is pedal at it faster than you initially should do if you're hitting it properly, because you are going to be locking on your back brake. So you're going to slow down super quickly, so you need to overcompensate by pedaling super quick. So basically you get up to the berm, and then just as you're about to enter it, lock up your back brake, and then once you get into the transition of the berm, you sort of want to pump or push into it with your back wheel and slam that into the berm, and you'll fire stuff out the back like you just saw there. The second technique is a little more fun, because you usually fire more stuff, but it can go wrong a bit more if you're not being careful, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. You want to cut the berm line, as you can see with the line already there. You're basically going to want to aim for the middle of the berm rather than the entrance, and then you're going to want to lock up your brake a lot later than you would for the entering the berm normally. Keep pedaling at the same speed though. You could even go a little bit slower, because this technique is going to fire a lot more dirt, so it doesn't have to be as quickly. So this is good for you beginners. You might want to try that if you want to get a bit of style into it. Just to note though, you probably shouldn't do this on every berm, because you are going to lose speed once you've done it. This should really be for your sort of end of shot. Maybe if you're filming an edit you could do it because it looks cool, but when you're actually riding in the trails, probably you should stay away from it as much as possible. Just one thing to note, taking your foot off is a big sort of important thing that I like to do. You don't have to do it, but if you take your foot off, you're going to have a lot more balance and control over the bike, which gives you a lot more confidence. I like to take my foot off because it means I can go a lot quicker into them and keep sort of on the bike and then pedal out afterwards. This method does kind of destroy the berm, as you can see. It's sort of cutting away at the berm. You can see in the start of the berm there, the sort of dirt's completely missing, which is where people have hit it like that. Luckily, we've been given permission to smash up this berm as much as we want. So just be aware that in your local trails, if you do this, you might find that the owner sort of gets a bit angry about it and you're going to get told off. So just try not to do it try not to do it on every berm. Like I said, you're not going to want to do it in the trails much anyway. But for an edit, it's fine. As long as you fix it afterwards, I guess, that's totally cool. One last thing to note is just make sure that you pump at the correct time, which is really pumping dead into the center. If you pump too early, you're going to sort of bounce weird and then go over the top like that. That's the stylish berm ride. We're going to head off to another berm now and teach you how to hit them fast but stay on and do it sort of properly. So let's do it. So usually berms come in a sort of set, like there's a few after each other, but this one here is just on its own just for the purposes of this video. Basically, to get the berms super fast, you're going to want to make sure that you kind of hit the first berm you go into at a nice speed, and then you're going to want to use the techniques I told you as the first berm. You're going to want to make sure your pedals are unlevel like this. Depending what way you go around depends on which foot is up and which foot's down. For example, a left-hander berm, your left foot's going to be up, and for a right-hander berm, your right foot's going to be up. Pumping is important on berms to get speed for the next one. So just make sure once you're in the transition of the berm, basically is that sort of code for like the middle of the berm really. You're going to want to push down on your suspension, make your shocks go in, because then it's going to fire back out. And because of the angle you'll be at when you're in the berm, this doesn't sort of shoot you upwards, it shoots you forwards because the berm's at an angle. So if you're doing it correctly, you'll be good. Another important thing is to sort of go at the angle of the berm. If you're hitting it straight, you are going to go over the top of the berm, like the way you're pointing kind of thing. You need to really turn into the berm to make sure that you go around it properly. Another tip, you're going to want to look at the end of the berm and not the middle. That's a mistake that beginners make quite often, and basically what that does is your brain's focused on the middle of the berm, so then once you've actually got to the middle of the berm, you kind of forget what you're doing and then you end up sort of pulling your brakes because you're not sure what's next. So by looking at the end of the berm, you're making sure that you're keeping your eyes ahead, and so you can keep going fast, you know what's coming next. You can pedal into berms, that's completely fine. There's no rules that say that you're not allowed to do that. Obviously, if you pedal in harder, you're going to hit it harder because you've got more speed, but just be wary of the sort of angle of the berm. If you're pedaling heavy into a real tight berm, you're probably going to slide out and die, which I did do earlier actually. Oh, yeah. As a general rule, the mellower the berm, the faster you can go. The tighter the berm, you can get more speed out of, but you shouldn't go too quick into it straight away. If you're a gnat and you're riding on a bike and I see you, I'm gonna fucking squeeze you and pop your shitty fucking body. It's just so irritating. I know it's super annoying when people say this in videos, but practice is going to make you better at it. What I say isn't necessarily going to make sense to someone that's literally just started biking. So you just need to really get out there and just start hitting some berms, get a feel for what you need to do, and then you can start using the tips I've told you, the pedal up, the pump, all that, and you'll be getting epic at berms in no time. So many bites on my legs now. It's actually irritating. Tyres are kind of important for berms actually. If you're running slick tyres, you're gonna slide on berms even if they're a little bit wet. So making sure that you get some decent tyres like the Continental Mountain Kings that I'm running on my e-bike. They're super grippy, you can go into corners super fast and you'll stay in there nicely. Just make sure that you've got the right tyres for the job really. If you're riding trails, you are going to want knobbly tyres. They don't have to be super knobbly, just make sure that they've got a lot of grip on them and not just slicks, because you will slide. That's the end of this how-to, which was how to hit berms in different ways. If you liked it, let me know. If it helped you out, definitely let me know. And I've got some more how-tos planned that I can film soon, but it's super mosquito-y down in the woods, so we're definitely going to need to bring some anti-mozzie spray. This video is a bit all over the place because of the gnats. It's so annoying when you're trying to film stuff and you're just getting eaten alive. But yeah, like I said, hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. I just wanna have some fun.